Going live. Anybody going live? And we're live. How we doing, everybody? Welcome. Good afternoon. We're at the Parker Sporlan booth with Advanced Refrigeration. My name is Brett Wetzel. We have my co-host Kevin Compass, and we also have a wonderful special guest who's going to educate us on some Sporlan stuff, Mr. Stephen Sloan. How we doing, Stephen?
Doing very good, thank you.
Stephen, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long you been in the industry? What have you done? Give us a little history. I want to know.
Yeah, I started the industry in 1988, and I was with the supermarket for 22 years prior to joining Sporlan.
Okay.
Sporlan, I've been here now 13 years. I'm the regional manager for North Carolina and Arizona South.
Okay. Any specifics that your expertise are in? So if someone wants to know something about some certain product, what do you specialize in?
Pretty much, with Sporlan, we pretty much have to be rounded in a lot of the products. I'm familiar with the CDS valves. We did the Zoom-on products.
Okay.
Mostly the supermarket applications.
Awesome. Well, guys, today we're going to talk about the conversion kits for the A8 and A9. That's something that we've seen where we have the regular mechanical valves, but they want the control and the precision of the actual electronic valves. So tell us a little bit about these valves. Like I know these valves have multiple purposes, right? We have different valves, and because even though there's tons of different part numbers, it's really broken down into simplistic things, right? We have inlet pressure regulators, we have outlet pressure regulators, and we have differential valves. So tell us about some of the stuff that we have out there.
When we get into the CDS valves, they're typically a great opportunity to go ahead and do conversions over to be able to get to those pressures that you want to set to stabilize the temperatures. I tell you this, I've done many of the conversions from the source to CDS. I've done many of the conversions with A8s to the A8 conversion. I've seen many good performance characteristics out of that. I think it's the way the supermarkets ought to look at. They were looking for an easy energy savings opportunity. This is one of those. Hey, it's the low hanging fruit.
So, what are some of the benefits of actually converting from these valves? Like, what is? Why would I want to do this? Like, I mean, there's got to be a reason why. It isn't just because it's pretty and nice and shiny, but like, what's some of the reasons why?
Yeah, some of the reasons I'll tell you is if you look at the old SOR valves and the A8s and A9s, they've been in the systems for so long, and they start to get the corrosion, contamination stuff, and they've got to either. In the past, you had to replace that valve when it went bad. Now you can go ahead and start bringing in the new technology, the new advantages of the controllers, setting them off of discharge temperature in a case and dial that pressures into that case to be able to maintain that temperature in that case. It's a quick, easy. I'm not going to say it's quick, but you still have to go through the pump down to the cycle of a refrigeration rack system.
Yeah.
But the benefit is you're taking old technology that's a manual, had to be manually adjusted. A lot of technicians don't really understand how to set the sorts and the A8s and A9s. It's complicated for them in some way. We go into the CDS electronic conversions, you're able to sit there and allow the controller to tell the system what it needs to be doing. And you could benefit anywhere from 8 to 11% energy savings on a refrigeration rack.
How much?
8 to 11% energy
Oh my God.
savings. Been tested.
I got a question more so about the A8 style. With the actual A8, obviously you're pulling the bonnet off, you're pulling the block off, you're pulling the cartridge out, and you're putting a properly sized cartridge CDS valve in there, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now, is there an O-ring on the cartridge itself and a paper gasket still, or is it?
The kit comes complete with, it's got the seal that's needed to make the seal. It's got the 4 smaller bolts with the nuts, so you don't have that long. You've got to have something to convert it, and it's a pretty simple, straightforward conversion.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is that we had a situation the other day at the parts house. They could only find one O-ring that went with the CDS valve, and I wasn't sure if it had to have the paper gasket that would normally sit in the body, if it was just one solid O-ring for the entire kit.
The kits I've seen have just the O-ring, and that's seals it with the 4 bolts.
Okay. So they've eliminated that where the cartridge seal would be.
Correct.
Oh, that's nice. That's one less seal to leak.
That literally makes it so much of a faster conversion then too, right? I mean, you're not having to deal with all that other stuff. That's actually one thing as a technician that I really kind of did not like to do. I hated rebuilding A8-A valves. There are so many pieces in there, and I felt like a little kid being frustrated with Legos just trying to put all that shit together, and it scared me. It scared me doing that.
Yeah, they are an intimidating valve because, like you said, we as sales engineers, we meet with contractors looking for parts.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We have catalogs of information just to find the right kit for whatever the application is with them. So I feel your pain. It's something that we've all had to deal with.
100%, and that's why that's what's nice with being able to convert a lot of these valves. So that you break down all the rest of that stuff. And Sporlan has a barrage of different controllers that they can use to actually control a lot of this stuff, right? I mean, I know you have a differential pressure gauge controller. I know you have the pressure controller gauge that does the inlet or outlet depending on what you're trying to control. I know we predominantly use think about it, because we're doing a whole back is an inlet pressure regulator, right? So we're going to use the pressure transducer on the inlet, and all these controllers are convertible, so you can actually tell it what to do. And the same thing, what's really good about a lot of these controllers is the fact that you can have a remote shutdown for this thing via typically two sets of contacts. It's usually 27 and 28, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
Okay. So if you're trying to do a shutdown and you'd have to run an extra comm wire out there to shut it down, now we really don't even have to, because if we're having to shut down the liquid line, where we would have had to shut down the sort before, you can do something as simple as a pilot relay, or disconnect the 120 off of it or the 240, and basically have those set of contacts where it used to be power to it. Reverse the polarity, instead of being normally open, put it normally closed, and let that thing shut down like that, right?
Yes.
Sorry. Now, let me ask you this: is there a replacement kit for the A9, or is that just getting changed out normally to the CDS valve?
There, the A8 and A9 is that we have it for both.
Good for both. Okay.
Because that's what it's A8. It's the same conversion kit for both valves.
Okay, same conversion kit for both valves. Now, is it sold in port sizes, or is it sold in just valve body size?
Valve body size.
So okay.
So you don't have to worry about the port size when you're ordering.
Not on the. It's one kit.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, because usually you have to worry about. So if you're not familiar, Sporlan with a lot of their stuff, a lot of their nomenclature is size per the port as well as the connection size. So a lot of times you'll see like a 52. If we take a 52 filter dryer, that 2 actually represents how many eighths that port is, or what the connection size is. So if it says a 52 filter dryer, it's 5 cubic inches of that desiccant, right? Correct me? Okay. And then it would be quarter-inch connection. And it goes up. It goes up. So if you have an 11, that would be what? That would be 1.3 inch, right? There you go. See, I learned some stuff occasionally, right?
Yeah, everything's by eighths. What else?
Now, the other, it's not really a conversion, but like you guys have your three-way valves, your actuated three-way valves. Those, correct me if I'm wrong or not, like those cannot be taken apart and replaced, correct?
No, they're not designed to be taken apart.
Okay.
So they're pretty slick. They can shift between port A and port B. They're smooth. They actually take a lot of the hammering when you have a big supermarket rack. When this shifts in heat reclaim, it's a nice smooth transition versus having that the old valve shift. So
does that also mean that this conversion kit can also do, so we deal with a lot of supermarkets, obviously. It's, we have the A8-AOE, which is a outlet pressure regulator, right? So I could basically take your conversion kit, put that on there, and get a smoother transition as far as your outlet pressure utilizing this controller. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. There's no difference, because you have that. I mean, I know really the only big difference is the fact that there's an external port that goes on the outlet side for that sensing. For all intents and purposes, it's basically the same kit, right?
It's the same kit.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and it's worth it. I mean, like I said, the energy savings benefit, especially for some of these supermarkets we're talking, it's been tested 3 times. So I know the company that tested it 3 times, same result, 8 to 11% based on energy in the rack. And our energy,
I mean, that's a killer. 8 to 11%, savings is a lot. I mean, it's enough to, have a payback within like 2 years. So I mean that's it's worth it. Was that just on the CDS valves, or was that on the whole back too?
I was just doing the CDS valves on the rack, on the cases.
Just doing the CDS valves.
Yeah,
on the
put them on
cases.
the rack.
What about the? I know you briefly touched on it. The sort conversions. That's a completely different kit, right?
It is a different kit. It's for the swords. It's just basically the CDS, maybe the 7 or 9. It just threads into the old body. You don't have to take the old body out. It's a different. It looks different than the A8 conversion kit, but it just threads into that body, just like.
And that's basically the same control as well, right?
Mhm.
Wow, I can think of like 20 different customers that would like to see this on now.
Yeah.
Because it would make it so much more simplistic, especially with everyone driving, Department of Energy driving all the new standards as far as how much this should cost, as far as efficiency. This is one good way to get some of that return back on that investment, right?
It is.
Now, so can you talk a little bit about the controllers that control these?
You can do it. As long as we get a signal from the controller. It has a 0 to 10 control. It has to be like. I don't really know about mentioning which brand controllers they are.
The Sporlan ones. The Sporlan ones is what I'm really
Sporlan
interested
ones,
in.
yeah, we could use the Kelvin product, the pressure rate, pressure, temperature. You can use temperature for case applications. Just gotta have some place to put the Kelvin to temperature controller to run off the discharge temp. You have the MT product, you can run the valve. If you're using another competitor's product, as long as we have a signal going to like an IVG board or something, the IVG board will tell the valve what steps it needs to be.
So if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, because I get confused. I'm dyslexic as hell, so I just want to make sure I got this straight. So the IBC board, you're talking about the board that basically takes that signal, and it's really neat. So they can take any signal 0 to 20, 0 to 10, 0 to 5, and basically 4 to 20 milliamps, and basically convert that into a step. And like I used to have one on my truck a long time ago when I used to be in a van, and like you can actually convert and tell that controller how many steps it is. So you can buy the universal one that has all the universal inputs and all the outputs of that valve, and basically you can utilize that in case something happens with one of the ones that you're working on. Because I see that a lot where they'll have a BMS controller or an EMS, or they're basically controlling the 0 to 10. They're controlling this board, and I think you can invert the signal too. Can you not?
Correct. You can.
Yes.
Check it out.
No, you do. You do. I just remembered because what happens is if God forbid you would lose the EMS, right?
It goes wide open.
It would go wide. We want it to go wide open rather than reversed, right? So I just remembered.
Okay.
Momentary lapse of judgment on my end. Sorry.
He does that a lot.
A lot.
Yeah, but I forget a lot of stuff too over the years.
Yeah, I tell my kids, your brain's like a cup of water. You fill it up so much, and then you start forgetting other stuff. That's why I can't remember their birthdays to save my life. You know what I mean? They yell at me. I feel like it's a quiz every single time I go to the pharmacy. They ask me the kid's birthday, and I'm like, and then I hear from the back January 14th. That I'm like, well, next time I'll remember. So, but
yeah, but the thing with the CDS valves, you can actually, as long as whoever's controller's going to use it.
Yeah.
It's they got to make sure the step rate is programmed properly in the controller. If it's the CDS, the bigger CDS valves, you got to make sure 6,386 steps in there. There are controllers, smaller SER valves, which is like it's a stepper valve. It has to be in that other controller's program for 2,500 steps. Don't go with the default of whoever the controller is.
So do all your controllers have a set step rate of 200 steps per second, or is that adjustable in those controllers?
They're set for 200 steps per second.
So that is not an adjustable feature on those controllers.
I haven't ever gone into looking if I could adjust it, but that's we typically.
I don't think you can adjust it. I've never seen a setting in there to change it.
Well, because I know like MT, right? Like microthermal, like you can actually specify, especially if you're using like a HPV or a BGV, you can actually select what how fast that valve is going to open and close for reactance.
If you also look, those Sporlan controllers are made for their valves. It's set for their fixed step rates.
No,
so,
I get it.
Like Danfoss step rates are like 1556. Like there's like random. They're like 14 whatever it is. It's a random step rate. So like, I think that's why microthermal has that capability of like changing it.
It's like the SDR valves. It's like 3193.
Yeah, it's
something
one
really
of those
really random and odd.
Random odd numbers that like nobody's gonna remember. That's why it's easier just to have that canned program with them. Like it's already set for their valve.
100%.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about these controllers?
Just talking about the conversion kits for the CDS.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your time.
No, I appreciate your time, Steve. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And you have a good one.
Steve.
Too.